Brian in New Haven. What's up, Brian?
Hey, Mike. Happy belated holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you and yours. Yeah, you opened the show with James Dolan and Dean Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nearly every James Dolan call is being deflected to Phil Jackson. Did he do something recently? I don't know. You seem to be interjecting him into a lot of the James Dolan calls.
I never interjected Phil Jackson once into the conversation. Not one time.
Really?
Not one time. How would I have done that?
To a different show.
How did I reference Phil Jackson into the letter that James Dolan sent to the fan?
No, you begin the call. You say yes, the letter was wrong, and it slowly gets into Phil Jackson and getting away from James Dolan. And I think it's pretty obvious.
A caller brought up and attacked Phil Jackson for the team he put forth so far, saying he didn't have a problem with Dolan, he had a problem with Phil Jackson. I didn't do that. A caller did that in the beginning of the show. I did not reference Phil Jackson once in the whole open, not one time. I never mentioned him.
Okay, I didn't mean the opening.
I never alluded to Phil Jackson, so I never introduced Phil Jackson into it at all. I didn't do that. A caller did that. I didn't do that.
That was one call. What about the other 15 calls where you brought him into the conversation?
Wait a second. Do you think I made the phone calls?
No, but you are bringing the conversation that way.
I'm not bringing the conversation.
We all know that.
Dolan and I are not buddies. I don't know where you got that from. I don't hang out with Jim Dolan ever. I don't know where that came from. I don't hang out with Jim Dolan. He's not a buddy of mine. So where'd you get that from?
I'm just, rumors, I guess.
I get the rumors. Not true. I don't hang out with you.
About Rangers breaking news, but never want to talk about hockey either.
I didn't say I didn't have friends at the Garden, but Jim Dolan and I aren't friends.
I think those two go hand in hand.
They do? How do you figure that? What do you consider a friend?
Well,
what is a friend?
We can break down.
Wait a second. Is a friend someone you socialize with?
You never socialize with Jim Dolan?
Never.
Not once? Never.
I don't socialize with Jim Dolan. No, I don't ever socialize with him. I don't socialize with any owners. I don't ever socialize with an owner ever.
Okay.
Socialize?
Well, are we going to define socialize now?
Well, I just defined it for you. You asked me, did I socialize with Jim Dolan? The answer is no, I do not. I don't go anywhere with Jim Dolan. I don't hang out with Jim Dolan. It's not true. I don't go anywhere with him.
So you haven't defended him at all today? I
didn't defend him. I said what he did was completely wrong and stupid. I thought it was a terrible response. How's that defending him?
No, you're right in that sense.
Well, then wait a second. Then what was my defense?
You basically wanted to put that behind you.
I didn't do anything. Wait a second. Did I give you every chance just to talk about Jim Dolan all you wanted? So how did I put it defined? You called up about Jim Dolan. The other caller called up about Phil Jackson. I didn't tell him to call about Phil Jackson. He did.
So many of the phone calls, you're straying the conversation.
I'm not straying the I am not straying. Wait a second. Why don't you bring it back to Jim Dolan and say what you want to say?
Well, it seems like in the past, Mike, you've always had
you have an agenda. First of all, you called up and said that I'm friends with Jim Dolan, which is not true. So you went from there with some conceived notion you have because you think I broke a couple of Ranger stories that I got those from Jim Dolan. I never did. Sorry, I never did. Jim Dolan doesn't call me ever. Never. I don't think he's ever called me, spoke to me on the phone in my life. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've ever had a phone conversation with Jim Dolan in my whole life. So that's completely erroneous.
Okay.
Completely erroneous. So, but that doesn't mean that I don't know people at the Garden. I just said I do not hang around with Jim Dolan.
Listening to your show throughout the years, I've noticed that you may have a little more lenience to Jim Dolan that most other people would have, and it just seems a bit alarming.
Well, that's not alarming. It's a preconceived.
It's not rumors. It's perception too, by the way.
Well, no, it's your perception. Which
mine, right?
Well, your perception was that we were friendly. Which was, I just told you, was completely erroneous.
Hey, I can admit if I'm wrong about that.
Well, I just told you were. I mean, completely wrong about it. And I have two calls up here right now that are both about Phil Jackson.
So you're very good, Mike. You've been doing this a long time. You know how to generate the buzz.
I don't ever generate the phone calls. I don't tell the phone calls what to call about ever.
You don't think you talking on the radio generates phone calls?
I take the phone calls that are up there. I don't ever tell Monzo to not. There's never a time in 30 years that I say we're not taking that phone call to my producer. Ever. I take every phone call. Whatever you call about, I take the call, and I don't even care what the topic. Remember, I'm someone who can sit here and talk about any topic. So I don't have to say, I can't talk about that topic, I can't talk about that team, I can't talk about that topic. There are plenty of hosts who do that. I don't do that. If I can't talk about everything, I don't have to be here. Then I shouldn't be here. I can talk about anything you guys are going to talk about. Anything you want to talk about, you can call me up and I'll talk about it. I'm very well versed. So the fact that this caller, Tony, now, Tony, how are you? Pop Tony. Tony. Yeah. You got Tony, pop him up.
Hey, Mike.
Tony.
Hey, how you doing?
Did I tell you to talk about Phil Jackson?
You didn't tell me to talk about anything, Mike.
Okay, so what do you want to talk about?
Two quick questions. One on the Phil Jackson. I had a quick question on the Jets as well.
Go ahead. So this is exactly what the caller wanted to talk about. I didn't tell him to talk about Phil Jackson. Go ahead. What's up?
The only person that tells me what to do is my wife.
There you
Mike.
go. I agree. And that's a good way to go because you got to live there. That's why. So I agree with you. Go ahead. What's up?
Well, I think obviously a lot of the